Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean. European away days, am I right? um, we are back, obviously, to react to United's 1-1 draw against Real Sociedad on the road in the Europa League. I thought we were a bit unlucky to come away with the draw, but I guess when you look at the match overall, you look at the wasted opportunities that we had that fell to some players in the final decision or that final shot. Perhaps a 1-1 draw is about expected. Maybe it's deserved even. Still, I thought we were the better side on the night overall until that pen. I think the pen just totally changed the match. And I think obviously Ruben Amorim said the same thing. But I mean, I'm not going to say I called it in the preview, but I called it in the preview. What did I say? As long as we don't get another bullshit handball penalty against us, I'll be fine. And lo and behold, what happened then. So we're going to talk about the match as always. Talk about a couple of the individual performances, some of the decisions, obviously, and take a look at a little bit of what Ruben Amorim had to say on certain factors. I've got some thoughts of my own. As always, you guys know I like to share my big takeaways. It's hard to whittle a match down into three kind of main thoughts, but it's what happens sometimes when you rewatch the games. Like I said, I do watch the games at least twice. So, but more importantly, I want to know what you guys think. So get involved in the chat as we go along. We're going to start with a little bit of news today because there wasn't enough news to make a separate video, but there's enough news that warrants discussion. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the memberships to learn how you can get more involved, not only in the content, but just in the discussion as well. So let's get stuck in. Let me check and see who's jumping in. Danny Boy in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Hope everything's going well. Get your thoughts in on that match as we go along. We're going to start first and foremost. I'm not going to get gassed up. I'm not going to get super excited. But, guys, it could be happening. We could be getting Hayden Hackney at United. So we know that we've been linked with Hackney in the past. Reportedly, we've been interested in Hackney in the past. Obviously, you guys know I love me some Hayden Hackney. Defensive midfielder, deep-lying playmaker for Middlesbrough, learning the trade under one of the best in the biz, Michael Carrick, who is manager of Middlesbrough now. Such a good young player, still just 22. But now Mail Sport is reporting that we have had scouts recently to watch Hayden Hackney during Middlesbrough matches. Now, admittedly, Middlesbrough went on a barren run there for a few matches. They were struggling. And Hackney was, despite trying, he's not able to influence the match when, the rest of the players. I mean, and that's the same with everything. But he can go missing sometimes. I think he does. I don't think Hackney is comfortable. He's comfortable when he's got the pitch in front of him. Let's say that. He's not comfortable with his back to goal, trying to receive the ball, trying to move, get super mobile. It's kind of like if you guys watch Sunderland, if you watch Jude Bellingham, he's kind of like that. He's floating around in the deeper areas. He wants to get on the ball. He wants to be that first kind of pivot point to kind of find his teammates. And then he does float around to make late runs, but he's not comfortable with the ball in tight spaces like you're going to get from like a Kobe Manu or something like that. But I do like Hayden Hackney a lot. But that is coming from Mail Sport. What's everybody saying in the chat? Teresa, good to see you. Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Rob, welcome back, Rob. How is everyone doing? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm trying not to get my hopes up, Danny. He's just, you guys know I like Hayden Hackney. I am also a big fan of, you guys know, Arden Yashari at Club Brugge. Easily one of the best kind of playmakers I've seen in a while for such a young age. Obviously, Club Brugge agree. He just joined them this summer, but they've already extended his contract because he's already getting interest. I would still absolutely go for both of those if I could. But then it says, you ever watch Miller? Oh, you talking about Liam? Is that his name? Yeah. Where is he at? Is he at Hibs or Hearts? I can't remember. Is it Hearts, I want to say? In the Scottish Premier League, watched him play versus Celtic a couple times. He would be a smart buy. Yeah, there's a lot of good young players. I want to say, isn't he out of contract in the summer, Miller? Is it Lennon? That's what it was. Lennon. I thought it was Liam for a second. No, Lennon Miller. Yeah, super young, very, very highly rated. Maybe I'll have to do a little bit of a scout report on this kid. But yeah, another one who's really highly rated coming out of the Scottish League. Yeah, couldn't remember his name. I knew it would start with an L. I think I was getting him confused with the Ferguson guy at Bologna, the other Scottish midfielder. Pretty sure I think he's Liam Ferguson. I can't remember now off the top of my head. A lot of young players. But I want to say Lennon Miller is out of contract in the summer. Let me just check that up. Let me see. No, it runs till end of next year. So he's entering the final year of his contract. So could be interesting. So interesting. But yes, Mail Sport reporting that we are still actively sending scouts to watch Hayden Hackney, which let's hope so, because that dude is the truth. Moving on. So coming from Jacques Talbot with Caught Offside, he is pushing hard on the James Trafford rumors. Obviously, we've been linked with James Trafford, the goalkeeper for Burnley. He says United are actively pursuing reinforcements to bolster their squad. And not only is James Trafford one of those names, but now he's tossed in RB Leipzig striker Benjamin Šeško into the mix as well. I really like Benjamin Šeško. He's having a good season. He's not as, obviously he's still young, but he is on the ascendancy, and so I do think he has everything now with proper coaching and a good system to get to that next level that he can get. I think Šeško's next move is going to be very important for him, because while he's not putting up, like Jonathan David, Erling Haaland numbers, or even Gyökeres numbers, he's still, like I said, very young. And so he's still getting in the double digits consistently. I like to see if he can get up to like that 20 goal a season kind of thing. But what do you guys think of the Šeško links coming from Caught Offside and Jacques Talbot? Let me see over here. Teresa says Ethan Wheatley, watch some of him games. He has the right profile. I'm sure he'll make an appearance soon, if not next season. Well, on Ethan Wheatley, like Danny says, he's on loan. He is on loan at Walsall, but that was my next bit of news, Teresa. After the Šeško, Trafford, and Hackney links, Ethan Wheatley has signed a new contract at United. It's going until 2028 with the option of a further year. So it's clear that United do see something in Wheatley. I like Wheatley's energy. His finishing still needs work. Even at the academy level, his finishing still needed work. Obviously, he got some first team minutes for us last season. Send him on loan. And this is what you have to do sometimes with youngsters. Sometimes they're going to get some minutes here and then go out on loan. Sometimes they're going to get minutes at the first team and they're going to stick around, i.e. Kabi Menu. Sometimes they're going to go on loan and they're not going to make it. It is what it is. So we'll see how he does. But I do think that teams in the lower leagues in England are a good spot for these players. The quality is good enough for some of them to get minutes, but they're also going to get used to the physicality required because especially in the championship, for instance, championship is a longer season. You're full of grizzled veterans. It's very physical. There's not much room down there for a whole lot of finesse. You really do have to learn how to play in hard conditions and in all the facets of that. So, but perhaps it was a Scottish kid playing in Spain a few seasons ago, but I haven't heard about him since. Name might be something. Yeah, Ryan Gauld, I think was his name. I think he was he at Spain or was he at Portugal? I don't remember now. Danny says his finishing needs to improve. Yeah, like you're saying, every time I've watched him play Wheatley, his finishings have been a little suspect, but he's still young, so it is what it is. Teresa says he has Victor Gyökeres moves. Yeah, there's one thing I do like about Wheatley is he presses. He's very energetic. He does close down the ball. He does get about up in that final third. He does contribute. So he's got that. He's got a little bit of that mentality that's shining through. So we'll see. Hopefully he does well. Also, we've got a few youngsters out on loan. So we'll see how some of them do. Dan Gore obviously picked up a little bit of an injury. Shea Lacey injured again. So we'll see how that goes. Shea Lacey's just getting unlucky with some of these injuries. I don't know if he's going to be able to shake it. He might go down the Ethan Laird route where maybe we lose patience with that. You guys know I'm tired of injury-prone players. Anytime we're linked with one, I'm always a little bit skeptical of not the rumor necessarily, but just the viability of another player with injury. Now, we saw the other day in the news that United was trying to come up with some sort of a algorithm to predict injuries and whatnot, but I'm like, do we really need an algorithm? Just use the internet. It's free. It's right there. It didn't take me more than a few minutes to see that Mason Mount's injuries don't have really good long-term prognosis, if that makes sense. And so I don't know how we can pay people who don't do it. Rob says, yeah, Ryan Gauld played in Portugal. Yeah, I remember him at Portugal. I think he was at Sporting. I don't remember where he went after that. I remember him being really highly rated like 5-6 years ago. I do not know where he is now, though. There was another guy, Bernie, what's his name? Oliver Bernie or no? Who's this? Something. He was kind of had a Rooney kind of build to him down in the championship. I want to say he was with Blackburn. Could be QP. I don't remember now. The young attacker that was, I think he's Scottish, that was kind of getting talked about a couple years back. I don't remember what happened to him though. We were linked with him for a hot second. But that's the news. Like I said, not a lot, but I'm trying not to get overhyped about the Hackney room. As you guys know, I love Hayden Hackney. Go check out Arden Yashari too for Club Brugge. He's very, very good. Both of those guys, I think, will be excellent pickups for midfield. Both very different profiles, but I think both of them would be excellent pickups for us. We do need someone in that deep pivot, not only because we just don't really have a playmaker there. I mean, Bruno's doing the job, but I think that Bruno is a little better higher up the pitch. Not that he's been bad, but we also need to start planning for life without Bruno. Whether that's a big bid comes in for him or the fact that he's 30. So I'm not saying we just give up, but you have to. It's like playing shooting pool. Like you have to think a couple moves ahead, and you can't just always go for the obvious thing or wait until that obvious thing. You have to kind of plan that out, set yourself up for some of those things. So you want to get someone who's young who can come in and start learning and play in that deep line playmaker role like Bruno's trying to do. So we can start transitioning, we can start rotating, and then we can start moving, and then you start planning for another midfielder after that. This is how proper clubs run their recruitment. So, but again, it is about money and it is about priorities. So you want to keep that in mind. So, but it's something we definitely need to start thinking of planning ahead for. Same with, Maguire, same with, who else was I thinking of just now? Casemiro, Eriksson, all these guys are going to be gone. Even, I know they say keepers can play for a while, obviously. But I think that not only is Andre Onana pretty much done, but even when it comes time to replace him, I've seen a lot of people talking about guys like Mike Maignan or something. And I'm like, cool, he's a good keeper, but Mike Maignan's 29 now, 20, and I'm not saying that's old. Obviously, keepers can play for a while, but you're just going to have to look for another replacement in a couple of years when I would rather maybe go for someone who is in that 23, 24, 25-ish. So you can count on them for the next, 7, 8, 9 years. De Gea was here for 11, 12 years. I'm not saying every keeper, every player is going to be like De Gea, but I'd rather go for someone like that. So I'm happy with some of the names we've been linked with in terms of keepers, more so Joan Garcia than James Trafford, but I'm also a bit biased because I've liked Joan Garcia for a while. Then if he says, Hackney be perfect, excellent ball progressor. Yeah, he's a little, so Hackney, he is a bit of he's not as slow as Casemiro, but he's not the quickest, so I'll say that. But you guys know I never think you have to be the quickest. And then sometimes he can, because he doesn't look super, super comfortable, because he is kind of slower in some ways, he doesn't look super, super confident and comfortable in tight areas where he's got to move and stuff. But as a deep line playmaker, someone who's going to drop deep, pick up the ball, turn, and then see the pitch ahead of him and kind of dictate that way, he's very good. And then he's very good at kind of, when the ball's already in the final third, he's good at kind of getting these late runs, getting involved in those ways as well in the final third. But he's also got a really good pass on him, and not just long ball. Like he's really good at these through balls along the ground. He's very good incisive passing. So Danny says, we have Vitek, Harrison, and that kid from Arsenal. Let them battle it out. Yeah, and that's what I've been saying too, Danny. Like, I would, if we had a Saudi club come in for Onana, take the money, go with the Vitek and buy into your next season, and then reassess it next summer. Let them battle it out. 2 goalies enter, 1 goalie leaves. That's how we roll. Then he says he has all-around game. He's solid at everything. Yeah, I really, really like Hayden Hackney a lot. Obviously, we've been linked with him. I think there's that Michael Carrick connection at Middlesbrough. Maybe we can throw them somebody on loan or hook them up with a youngster or something like that as well. Would not go amiss. Kai, welcome back. Good to see you again. We were just kind of wrapping up a little bit of the news because now we are jumping into the match. So don't forget, hit that like button if you haven't yet. Subscribe if you're new. Share the video if you want to as well. Get this UVE community growing. We are on the road to 3K. So starting 11, what were you guys' thoughts on that starting 11 last night? Obviously, there's almost getting to a point right now where there's not really a point to do a starting 11 prediction because of just the injuries and stuff. There's just not many options right now. So what we've seen is pretty much what we are going to see. What's really nice, though, is obviously Harry Almas in the matchday squad didn't get any minutes. But I think the biggest excitement for me and the biggest kind of the positive for me from team selection and whatnot is just that Collier was back. Obviously, he got a few minutes towards the end, looked very good, I thought. Didn't look like he missed a step at all. You guys, I rate Collier so highly. He's such a good midfielder. His reading of the game is for his age and just for I would say the lack of first team experience, because he doesn't have a whole lot of first team experience, but it's very, very good. He's just getting involved. He knows where to be, when to be. He's good on the ball. He's not afraid to get stuck in. I like Collier a lot. He's definitely one I would hold on to for a while. Not saying he's going to be world class. He's going to be the difference maker in terms of trophies and whatnot. But as far as squad player right now, and as far as filling in when we need to, I think if Casemiro leaves, Collier slots right in, no problem as far as the squad goes. Garnacho got the start on the right-hand side this time, and Ruben Amorim said that was a bit of a tactical thing in terms of where Sociedad were going to be positioning and stuff. So not much else to chat about. Danny says Hackney, Miller, 25, 30 million, two top prospects that are ready. Yeah, Hackney's definitely ready for the first team. He could easily – Hackney's one of those ones where you're like, he's going to go to like Brighton or like West Ham or something, and then in like another 2 years, he's going to be worth almost double. So Danny said, Boro tipped for promotion. I know they were struggling. They went on like a 5-match run where they just weren't able to get results at all. So I want to see why in the F. Oh my gosh. Why is this on FootMob? I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you see this? Sidemen charity match final. Why is that even featured on FootMob? That's ridiculous. Why? So Boro, Danny, are down in 9th, so I doubt that they're going to be looking for promotion. They were very, very close. I think they kind of had their best shot a couple of years ago. But Danny says definitely half dozen mids out. We should be getting cheap. Yeah, there are a ton. And Lyon are still struggling. Obviously, their manager, I think, just got sent off for something he said to the ref the other day. I want to say he got a major ban because they were talking about it on the Galazzo show on Paramount yesterday, but they're struggling financially. Their stadium shit, they're in debt. They've already sold a couple, like Kakare went to Como, I believe, but Cherky, man, he's the one. I like him a lot. Yeah, he would cost less too if they struggle. I think that, and again, the Michael Carrick connection does help. We've already been linked with him, so. But yeah, are you guys excited to see Collier back in the mix? I am. What about this match in total? So it was more sit deep and counter from us to start the match. We were happy to give them possession. They had 61% possession. But this time, though, we were able to create a few more chances. And we look more and more like getting forward, creating chances. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit because it's good on the one hand, but it's also a little bit of a potential problem for me on the other hand. So we'll talk about that in a few moments here. But yeah, we were happy to kind of do the same thing we've been doing. Now, whether that's a needs must because of limited options and in terms of the depth and whatnot, or if it's just Amorim kind of saying like, I'm finding a way to blend my stuff with what these players are good at or what. It's up to you guys. But we kept them quiet, zero shots on target for Sociedad in that first half. 3 for us, 1 big chance. Like we were very physical to start, very energetic, but you can see the fitness or the mentality is just not there, because whether it was just these players had the chances, they were missing them and they started regressing to the mean in terms of kind of giving up, or if it's just the lack of fitness, because after 25, 30 minutes of that lively start, we did taper off, which we've seen for years. These players just, again, it's so weird. And then there was a definite, noticeable, like tangible drop off in just the overall mood when Sociedad got that pen. It was very, very annoying. Danny says, I think he goes to Pool, Cherky. We should be all. I don't know where's he going to play a Pool unless they get rid of. They literally have to sell like Jota, Diaz. And then you still got like Jobazlai, Harvey Elliott, these guys. He's not going to play. He'll play at United because we'll probably end up. There's a high chance we could sell Garnacho, which we're going to talk about shortly as well. And he suits what we have 2 10s. Liverpool don't even play with a 10 really. So I don't know. I just don't see it. Like I get like Liverpool are better, but it's like the Real Madrid conundrum. Like, yeah, it's Real Madrid, but at the same time, you're not going to play, especially if you're a midfielder right now. They've got Tchouameni, Camavinga, Modric, Valverde, Bellingham, Güler, Brahim Diaz. Like, this is why we've seen number 10s like Batsarina turn them down, because you're not going to play. There's already talk that Güler might be leaving, and I'm like, come to United, man. I take Brahim Diaz in a heartbeat at United. I think he comes in and takes over that Bruno role, like higher up the pitch, and I think he slots in very quickly. Like you go to Liverpool. what are the chances you're going to play? We'll see. But um, I like Dorgu's physicality, or as we talk about individual performances. I do think, especially because he's young and he's a bit excitable, we'll call it. He's probably going to see a few yellows and potentially a few kind of little niggles here and there, because if he doesn't find a way to control that physicality and that enthusiasm, like we saw against Ipswich and like we saw a little bit yesterday, he might pick up a couple unnecessary injuries. He almost got one yesterday coming in for an aerial and came down, like he caught a knee to the thigh, and I was worried. But I could see that going either one of two ways, like getting a lot of yellows or getting a lot of these little injuries. Remember, like Eric Bailly, the way Eric Bailly used to play, it was like there was always something that he was going to come down with. But we'll see. His crossing definitely needs work. I don't think any of his crosses were on point. But again, I'm not too worried. He's still 20. So, and he's still brand new to this league, to these teammates, to this system. So, but I like it. What I've seen so far from Dogu, I like. He's willing to get stuck in. He doesn't shy away from things. He's able to get high up the pitch. If he just dials in those crosses and just learns when to go in hard and when to kind of just sit back for a second, I think he'd be fine. He's 20. He's going to be fine. Again, that cameo from Collier, I thought he had a couple of brilliant moments. He had a really good drop of the shoulder in one instance in a tight area, and then heel chop to create space for himself, relieve pressure, and kind of get us out of a tight press near the byline or the touch line. Very good from him. He did really well, too, to win a free kick in a really good area. I'm just glad to see him back fit, slotting right in. Doesn't look like he missed a step, like I said. Danny says, Fernandez at Braga looks good. Haven't seen much to him, though. I feel like I saw we were linked with him recently. Is that Roger Fernandez? Is that guy's name? There's another one. There's a right wing back at Marseille that I really like as well, that I might do a scouting report on. 24, I think he is. Could come in and do a really good job. Our defense did their job, and honestly, they were stellar. Aside from being kind of put under pressure by a overhead, like a ball here and there, like a lofted ball, late in the second half. Again, I think after that pen went in, we kind of switched off a little bit. Dalot, 33 of 35 passes, 6 out of 7 duels. And it's really worrying that Dalot completed our only accurate cross on the night. I don't know if anyone else is worried about that. But again, when people go in on a Hoyland, I'm like, guys, Dalot completed our only accurate cross of the night, and we only attempted it. It must have been like 9, because it was like 14% of our crosses were completed, and that was 1. So math. But that's worrying when we're only completing 1 cross. Like, what is you could literally bring Erling Haaland into this team and he's not getting a goal. Like, he's probably barely getting the ball at all. And it's just because we're so shit at finding our strikers. And we're going to talk about that a little bit too. But yeah, Dalot, very good on the night. Again, potential future captain there. He's looked really, really good the last couple of weeks. Probably the best we've seen him in a United shirt. And I like with that. He easily future captain for me. Yoro, very good. All of his tackles, 3 out of 4 duels. Doesn't look any bit like an 18-year-old at all. The kid is very, very good. Always composed on the ball. After he gets done a little bit sometimes, I think, by pacey wingers in the channels, but he'll learn what to do in those situations a little bit more. Stand off a little bit, just get rid of the ball instead of trying to control it or let it bounce. Like, he'll learn. Mazraoui was clearly the guy who was responsible for building out in that first phase. He was responsible for progressing the ball, played 4 out of 5 long balls, 7 passes into the final third, 3 out of 3 tackles, though, and 8 out of 13 duels. So he was kind of doing a little bit of the legwork. Dalot, Yoro didn't attempt as many long balls as Mazraoui, so that's why I say he was the one kind of responsible for doing that. What are you guys saying here? Teresa says, in my opinion, same story. Amorim coached to win. The players decided otherwise. They blatantly show it. Strange stuff for professionals. Yeah, we have a lot. I got a lot of thoughts. Selfish players, says Teresa. Yeah, it's I don't know what's. I mean, we'll dive into it a little bit more, but I don't know what is going on between Dalot and Hoyland, because this isn't the first time we've seen issues between them where there's just some sort of disconnect. I don't know if it's something personal or what, but it needs to stop, because what Dalot was criminal last night. Mo, welcome, the middle-aged gamer. I like it. Good to see a new face. How are you doing? Danny says, Dalot is a disgrace, Teresa. I finished with him. Amorim continues playing him next season. You will get Amorim sacked. Unfortunately, it needs must right now. I think if Ahmad's fit, Dalot's not playing. So Mo makes a good point. Yeah, 3 games in 8 days takes a toll. Not to mention the weekend we played for 120 minutes. It does take a toll, and then we've got to turn around in a couple days and play Arsenal without. Champions League definitely does get a little bit of an easier schedule, especially when you play on Tuesdays. But like this Thursday Sunday thing is just it's not fun. I don't know why Europa League can't just be on Wednesdays. Who cares? I mean, it doesn't play all the Champions Leagues Tuesdays, play all the Europa Leagues Wednesdays. I think that works out for everybody. But what are you gonna do? But welcome, Mo. Good point, man. Onana. I think Onana. I don't know. We need to stop just trying. He tries to hit these long balls, and none of them have any of them found our attackers. And even if they do, we've been so bad at winning the second balls for so many years. It's just there's no point. Like it's just putting us in a situation after situation where we're just defending again because he can't distribute the ball. Whatever distribution Onana was known for, whatever distribution he had at one point in his career, has completely just betrayed him. It's gone now. All he does is sit on the ball, allow the opposition to get back into shape, and then hoofs it long after they've already. You have to play it quicker. You have to find the attackers on the run, not with their back to goal, because we're not doing anything from it. It just forces us to defend again. Now, whether or not that Amorim thinks we're better at winning the ball in those higher areas or what, we do have one of the best high presses in the league when it comes to winning the ball in the final third. But I don't trust that enough as I do our attackers getting on something on a counterattack when we get those now. But you guys did see why Ten Hag brought Onana, why Amorim, plays him, and why obviously he's our only keeper right now, but because he's good on the ball, that little behind the heel, like that Cruyff turn to create space for himself. That's what I mean when I say Onana is comfortable on the ball. It has nothing to do with his distribution. He wasn't bought for his distribution because Ten Hag plays out from the back. He was bought because he's comfortable on the ball. And that was an example of it. As Danny says, don't forget to hit that like button on the way. Thanks. I do appreciate that very much. You guys know we're on the road to 3K. Love to get the channel growing. Like to see the community grow, get more people involved, as always. Teresa says, Danny Bruno was at Sporting before joining her. Yes, that is true. That is very true. He was. Casemiro quietly had a very good night. 2 interceptions, 4 out of 5 tackles, 5 of 8 long balls, 5 passes into the final third. I thought he's doing fine. He's come on recent weeks, played very well. Seems like the way that Sociedad were pressing last night, pressing high, it kind of left him open to receive the ball and have a little bit more space to work with. Bruno, not quite on it. I thought not his best. Even if you don't include the handball, which to me was a ridiculous soft call, but it is what it is. Just not on it. Again, no accurate crosses, but that's been normal for him recently when he's playing in a deeper role. Again, 5 out of 12 long balls, not great, but that's also been normal for him recently too. And his duels was interesting. So while he's playing in the pivot, Bruno's physical numbers, his duels, his tackles, those have been decent. His crosses and his long balls have still been poor. But last night, everything was just not great. His duels were not good either. Just 1 out of 6 duels. His pass completion was back down to like the 70s. Just couldn't quite. He just looked off it. Maybe he's just fatigued. He does pretty much play every minute of every match. So when you reach a certain age, your body does start to let you know that you can't hang that way anymore. And you're going to have to start managing that. So maybe he's got to work on recovery. If we had someone who could rotate, we could take Bruno off within the last 10, 15 minutes, let him get a rest. Maybe not even have to start him every single match. But the point remains is when Bruno doesn't have a good night, we do struggle. He is the one who kind of makes everything tick. So we really need to look at an understudy. We really need to look at someone who can progress the ball, who can start play, who has that ability. Like I said, Yashari's good. Cherki does the job in the final third. We need to start looking at some of these other people because Bruno can't do it every single week, and he can't be the only one doing it. So what are we saying here? Teresa says, I'm sure Amorim's little black book is full of nice notes. Well, he's getting a good look at it, squatting on the touchline. Mo says, do you think it affects you if you keep switching wings? Dalot was constantly being asked to change sides. Well, I mean, I'm sure that plays a role, but my thing with Dalot is it doesn't matter what side he's on. It's the individual moments. Now, yes, playing on the left side does present problems because he's not as comfortable on the left foot. So when he's receiving the ball, he's not able to receive it in kind of in a fluid way onto his left and then go forward because he's not comfortable. He's got to turn, he's got to take another touch. And then we see that too when it comes time for him to play a ball, whether that's a cross or whether that's a pass. He's kind of like when Ashley Young used to play there. He's constantly got to cut onto his right and find someone, which obviously is a problem. It costs us valuable seconds. The other main issue with Dalot, though, has been kind of just his confidence or his mentality or his bravery in these 1v1s, because he doesn't close down the opposition when they have the ball. Because of him, we have conceded a lot of goals from crosses that he should have put more pressure on. And his 1v1s in his duels, when he's got the ball, his dribbles are not great, and he's constantly giving the ball away. He did it against Fulham. Because he's taken too long in the ball, he tries to play these dumb passes, and he usually just gets intercepted or they just gets ricocheted back out. And it's just, he's got to do better in these 1v1s on and off the ball. And I think that's a mentality thing. He just doesn't look like, and he just makes dumb decisions. Against Fulham, he tried to like play a pass, and he put it like, he was at the edge of our own box. It was very congested. He tried to just pass it along the ground across our own box. And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? The failed clearance against Ipswich was just a shit show. Like Dallow's just, I don't think he's one of those where he doesn't suit the system very well. He's a fullback. I think if he went someplace like in Spain or Italy, like when he was at Milan, it's just a system thing. And I just don't think Dalot can do it. Danny says, if Cass can play 60 minutes once a week, he gives a solid performance, but anything more, his legs go. And I think there's a way to find him. I mean, Cass has never relied on his pace, but he's always had better players around him. To go from Madrid, where you're sitting deep and you've got Kroos and Modric, and you just always know no matter what, you've got somebody, like, you're never going to get that at United. It's just not the way it's going to be, at least not for like another 5-6 years probably. But it's finding a way to play him where you don't have to rely on pace. The problem is we've had issues in midfield for so many years now where the midfield is just a donut, and because we're just too easy to play through. And when you're not fast, that's going to be a problem. Or like Eriksen, when you're not physical, it's going to be a problem. So we need some players who are a little better on and off the ball. We don't need just a 9 out of 10 defensively or a 9 out of 10 defensively. We need like a 6 or 7 out of 10 in both of those areas from midfield. We need energy, we need legs, we need physicality. And it's just hard. Everything is just not aligning right now with the squad the way it is. And it's not Amorim's fault, but Cass can do a job. But like you're saying, it's just, you gotta, sometimes it's about the opposition. Sometimes it's about setting up the team to play to the strengths of who you have. And it doesn't mean abandoning principles. It just says, hey, maybe we need to pack this midfield today. Maybe we need to just, yesterday, I think it worked out the way Sociedad were playing. It kind of left Cass with less running to do, more time on the ball, because he always seemed to be in space the way they were pressing. So I think that did help him. And that's why sometimes it looks really good. Like Chris Smalling, play to his strengths. He looked really good under Mourinho, under Louis van Gaal, the way they played. He probably wouldn't look good in a Ten Hag system or an Amorim system. Same with Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire would look like Beckenbauer in a Jose Mourinho system or like in a David Moyes system. Doesn't look great all the time trying to build out from the back. Now, he's been good many times this season, but playing out from the back, trying to defend a high line, it's just not his game. Højlund didn't really, Dalot poor once again, as we're talking. His only decent stat on the night, Dalot, was his aerial duels. He won like 4 out of 6. It's just, his decision-making is shit. Højlund didn't really impact the game aside from a bit of good movement. He created, if you watch Xerxes' goal, it was Højlund who created that lane for Xerxes to shoot by making a run off to the right side, the far post, and pulling that Sociedad defender with him as Xerxes made that late run. I think that kind of thing goes unnoticed a lot. I'm not saying that Højlund does that all the time, but I think that was a key part to that goal. And then obviously Højlund was making that late run in the box off that counterattack chance we got that Dalot completely fucked up. Like, we should have had a goal there. We should have had a couple more goals on the night, but just, again, the final ball. But we've seen this between Dalot and Højlund. We saw it last season too. It's just not picking him out. These players, for some reason, are just not willing to make that decision, play that ball, and it needs to stop. Whatever, I don't know if it's personal or what, but it's hurting the team. We could have had goals there. So if it's personal, get over it. Lock them in a room, let them figure it out, and then get back to work, because this shit's got to stop. Especially because all the unity and all the mentality and all the fight we've seen these players put in for each other and bigging up the fans and like rallying in the last couple matches, it's disheartening to see that kind of stuff. It It was a little frustrating, I thought, to not see any subs until the 77th minute, given how long we played against Fulham and then the busy schedule we've had. I thought maybe, but again, our options are limited. So the players we need to find a way to give some of these players some rest, though. And if the subs can't perform to the point that we're waiting until the 77th minute or the 80 some odd minute to bring on someone like Eriksson could have come on sooner. He could have come on for Bruno, or even somebody else in the front of attack. But it is what it is. Options are limited right now. So Teresa says Diego Leon is a left wing back. Dorgu was brought in for right wing back, hence his first game on the right. Dalot was on the left because of Licha. Well, I think Dalot was on the left against Fulham because obviously Dorgu couldn't play. Now I know that Amorim said that Dorgu can play on the right, and he can. He has played there at Lecce, but he's a left back. Or a left wing back. I think Amorim has said something like he played him on the right in his first match so he could talk to him more while he was like close to the touchline. But if we brought in Dorgu to play on the right, then that's worrying because Leon's not going to be ready. He's not even 18 yet. We needed a left back. Dalot's not a left back. And we've seen that he's not a left back. Teresa says Jack Fletcher, isn't he? He is. Now, some of these youngsters did join to be part of the journey, but they weren't included in the squad. So, yeah, there's a lot of youngsters that look really good. And Camason is starting to get more hype because he's older than Giovanni Quenda. He's having a really good season, Camason. I think he should be the one to come in on their right side and kind of be an understudy here for Ahmad when Ahmad gets back fit. But you're absolutely right. So those are just some of the stats and the standouts. Let me jump into my 3 thoughts, you guys. So get your thoughts in. Don't forget to hit the like video if you haven't yet. Subscribe if you are new. Number 1, to counter or not to counter. I've said earlier, this is a little bit of an issue, a sticking point for me, because we do look so much better when we counterattack and our attackers receive balls in the channels and they have room to run. The final ball yesterday, as we've seen many times, the final ball is still not quite there, whether that's the shot, whether that's the pass to pick out a teammate. It's still not quite finely tuned, but we do look much better on the counter, which we've started seeing under Amorim more and more in recent weeks. Now, it begs the question, if this is not the way Amorim really wants to play, the same way it wasn't necessarily what Ten Hag wanted to play, is it better to get a manager that plays a style that suits the players that you have, or spend the time and the money to build for a manager's system? It's more expensive and it's going to take more time in the long run to completely build a system for a manager than it is to just simply get a manager that plays a system and try to get results. So it's one of those hard questions and those big topics of discussion. Might be worth discussing in a future video, perhaps. Maybe that's what we can get to, but it was interesting. Danny says it's the only way these players can play as counter. That's why, yeah, and that's why I'm asking the question. Like, as we've seen the last couple of weeks, when players like Højlund and Dalot, and when they get room to run, when they're given that license, when we're finding them in these channels. Again, we know that Amorim's system, we do want to find players in these channels. That's the striker really wants to play off the defenders and kind of roll into space, and you want these balls in or around or through, which is why I think Hackney or Yashar would be great. But we haven't seen it really until recently. So is that just the system kind of finally coming into play? Is that the way Amorim wants to play, or is that just the only way we can do it? But needless to say, we do look better when we counter. The final ball, again, has to improve. Again, just one accurate cross all night, and it came from De Ligt, which is not a good look. We should have had a few more goals, I thought, in that first half. Just poor finishing, poor final ball. We were getting into good positions. We're creating these chances. Again, the situation with Dalot and Højlund, another example. It's just those kind of things we just have to dial in. We can't, it seems like every time we get better in one area, we've still got a whole nother area that we haven't even improved on at all. And it's really annoying. But yeah, that Dalot situation, I don't know if you guys saw it. I'll put it back up. I'll put it on the screen right now. This is what I'm talking about. So yeah, if you remember, this is the situation that we find ourselves in. Dalot has done well to carry the ball into this position. And you can see Højlund is goal side of his defender. All Dalot has to do is just float that ball towards the penalty spot a little bit. Between the box line and the penalty spot is probably the perfect spot right now, because the keeper's come off his line. The keeper's got the whole backside of his post wide open. All Højlund will have to do is put that in on his left foot. He could have let it roll across his body, tapped it into that far post. But Dalot just doesn't. He stops and he tries to let other people get involved. Like, it's just, those things are just annoying. We've got to start whipping these balls in a little early. We've got to start doing this a little better, because that was a goal opportunity. Say what you want about Hoyland, but he doesn't get those kind of chances that often, and this is why we're just not finding him. Any striker would be frustrated as hell with this kind of stuff going on. So stop the Hoyland hate. He doesn't get the chances because the teammates aren't good enough to find him. So that just my soapbox. But interesting though, because again, on Hoyland, so Amorim had a couple things to say on this as well. He said, we had some good sequences of possession until the pen. Our decision making in the final third is not always the best, but we had some good moments. He's on Hoyland. He said he's trying really hard. He gave everything to make runs. We knew Sociedad defend with a high line. He used that to fight. He has to continue to play, not be anxious. He did a great run to win position. Sometimes the ball comes, sometimes it doesn't. He needs to think in the case of the next game. So I get it. Sometimes the ball comes, sometimes it doesn't. At United, the ball never comes. It just doesn't. How often have we seen any of our players put a ball like that in for Hoyland? It just doesn't happen. Amorim said, I'm just imagining that Diogo doesn't know for sure that Rasmus has the advantage. I call bullshit on that. That's ridiculous. Dalot's 25, 26, and he can see. Dalot's just not, either he doesn't want to play to Hoyland, which is a problem, or he just can't, and that's a problem. But either way, that was a very, very bad decision. I thought Hoyland looked better on the night. Again, he still doesn't look great, but I thought he looked good. He's making the runs. He's trying to get involved. He didn't really impact as much, but the movement for Xerxes' goal was good. And this situation was another example of just like, maybe he's only good in European competition. I don't know. But honestly, if his teammates are going to keep treating him like this, if they're just going to keep continuing to just completely ignore him, I would be like on the phone with my agent if I were Hoyland. I'm like, find me a club that's going to actually try to find me in the box, because these guys aren't doing it. Awkward conversations in the dressing room. If I'm Hoyland, I'm like, you know what? Feyenoord just sold Jimenez. Like, I'm going to go to Feyenoord. I'm going to learn under Robin van Persie. He's going to turn me into a class striker. It's ridiculous. Teresa says, Dalot, the coach. Now, a lot of people in the past, I think on the channel, have questioned whether or not Amorim is showing a little bit of favoritism with Dalot at times because he's Portuguese. Dalot's it's the only option we have right now, with Ahmad being injured and Maguire pulling up with an injury. Evans still injured. Lindelof just getting back fit. Mizraoui having to play center, but we don't have any other options. Amos is not there to start yet. It's just not. So needs must at this point, unfortunately. But I still call bullshit that Dalot didn't see the run, because anybody with half an eyeball and one brain cell could see that run. So moving on to my next point here. So let me put this on the screen. Sorry. Where did this Xerxes come from? Before you start laughing, this is not me kind of overhyping Xerxes. This is not me saying, yep, Xerxes is him. He's got a lot more to do, in my opinion. He's got a lot more to add to his overall game to convince me of his long-term viability, not only in the league, but at the club. All I can do is react to what I see on a given match, and we have to give Xerxes his flowers, because he's looked very good recently, and tonight was another example of that. He's pulling out all of it, back heels, nutmegs, etc., etc. He's involved in everything, dropping deep to get involved and build up to win the ball back, carrying the ball, trying to stay up top to win headers, obviously making that late run to come in off the edge of the box for his goal. And if you guys, again, I've said it many, many times, I feel like Xerxes is more of a McTominay than he is a striker. That goal was almost carbon copy, and just his overall play. But again, the goal was almost a carbon copy of the kind of things we would see from McTominay week in, week out. I think Xerxes is better on the ball than McTominay. He's got a better pass, better dribbler. I think he's got a better footballing IQ, but we have to see more from him. 1 out of 1 long balls, 3 passes in the final third, 2 tackles out of 2 tackles, 2 interceptions, 6 of 11 duels. So he's got to work on his ground duels a little bit. But again, and that late run to score, that was a perfect run, perfect placement, very good. I think if you think back to what we watched from McTominay, you'll see it. You'll see what I'm talking about when I say that. The question is this just a good run of form for Xerxes, or is he kind of been here half a year and he's kind of building up and getting to what we are starting to see from. Maybe he found a role in this system, and this is maybe what we can expect. The thing is, when performances breed expectation. The better you play, the more I'm going to expect to see that on a weekly basis. That's the new level you have to maintain now. So that's the demand, and that's the demand I hope Xerxes putting on himself. It's the demand I hope Amorim's putting on him as well. But he was definitely my man of the match last night, Xerxes. Thought that was he just nothing more I could ask from him. So Rob says, think we can only loan out Rasmus at this stage, otherwise it's a financial loss. Well, we know all about financial loss at United. That's pretty much just, I think Manchester United is French for financial loss at this point. Rob says, I'd sell Dalot. Never really. If we get a good, Dalot will probably end up making money on, because it's just, I think it's a system thing with Dalot. We paid what, 20, I don't remember, it was around 20 million, I feel like, for him. It was either just lower than that or just above that, but it was around that mark. I think we could easily get 30 million for Dalot from clubs who are look at Inter, probably going to be losing Denzel Dumfries at some point. I think Dalot goes in and does a great job for them. The way they play, I think he slots right in there easily, but I just don't think he can play in a system like this. Teresa says, what is he supposed to say? Handled it as best he could. Who are you talking about, Teresa? Danny says, Xerxes has lost weight too since the start of the season. And maybe that was the thing. Maybe it was like a Lukaku thing. Remember, Lukaku was carrying a lot of muscle. I still think Onana needs to drop a lot of muscle weight. He's so big and he just doesn't look coordinated or comfortable or agile, especially when he's coming out to punch the ball. And he did it a couple times recently, and maybe that's the key. Maybe Xerxes was looking a little slow because he was just a little big. We've definitely seen something in the last couple weeks that we haven't seen all season. So Rob says, yeah, Xerxes looks fitter. It takes time to settle into the new league usually. And it doesn't help, too, when the manager you were brought in for gets sacked in November and you got a whole new manager, a whole new system, and you still got dross all around you on the pitch as well on a weekly basis. Danny's man of the match was Dalot. Yeah, it was a definite toss-up. I think more often than not, what's going to do it for me when you have a 50-50 is the goal scorer. So it is what it is. It doesn't mean I think Xerxes is a better player. I just think that on the night, it could have been a toss-up between him and Dalot. But I do like Dalot a lot. I think Dalot, again, has the potential to be the future captain in this team. I think that he has got everything you need right now. He's doing the job, showing that he can do a job as that central role in that three-man defense as well. So just need him to watch. He does get done sometimes with these balls over the top. He does get done sometimes by quicker, more agile attackers. But he's a bigger guy. So I'm not going to ask for him to just suddenly become more agile and quicker, but more communication and players around him that are a little better in those channels, like Euro has shown and stuff. Go get Valentin Gomez or somebody, or Schlotterbeck or somebody to come in and kind of play on that side, on the left-hand side too. Moving on. Hope you guys are enjoying the discussion. I am. You guys know I love having these chats with you. Moving on, number 3. What to do with Garnacho? Oh, it's going to sound like I'm catastrophizing here. I'm not, but it is a question that begs asking. Despite the assist, which was a good assist to be fair, and it came from the one time that Garnacho got his head up in that final phase and found a teammate, I thought Garnacho was once again just frustrating, disappointing, wasteful, and again, more of what we've seen this season from him. It's just that final decision is just not improving, and his finishing is just not including. Besides the assist, he didn't do much else. His finishing is just poor. Hit the side netting twice again, and I told you after the Fulham game, it's like Casemiro's blind cross-field pass that always goes the opposition. Sure enough, once a match, at least Garnacho is going to lash the ball into the side netting because he's just in a bad position to shoot and he still wants to go for it. And he did it twice last night. His decision-making is just poor. He's not physical. I can't remember the last time I saw him win a duel. I mean, it's all well and good to be lively, take on a defender, back yourself in those situations, but it means fuck all if your decision-making when you finally at the end of that move is just horrible. This is why I don't rate Adama Traore. He can beat a man. He's got physicality. He's fast, but that final ball is what's going to make the difference. And Adama Traore's final ball is garbage. It's just bad, man. Teresa says amorim on Dalot's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's supposed to say, honestly. Like, I agree at that point. I mean, he's not going to come out and bash the player, but I don't think it's bashing to come out and say, like, yeah, Dalot's going, he's got to do better, and he'll know that. But that's what we'll just all we can do is keep that in mind the next game. There's nothing wrong with saying something like that. There's nothing wrong with saying like, yeah, the player knows he's got to do better. It's just what it is. Danny says probably move him on if we get 60 65 mil. Yeah, Garnacho is. It's not. Yeah, and we've said it from the get-go. I wondered how he was going to fit in this system because he's a winger. He wants to get up the pitch. He wants to cut in. He wants to shoot. He doesn't want to play this central role. I mean, he's able to get wider in this system and kind of move in, but he wants to score. He wants to take the shot, and you can't always do that. Like, his decision making is bad. Like, look at this shit. So this is Garnacho on the ball, and this is again another one where he hits the side netting from this position. He's got Højlund there, who he could flash a low driven ball to Højlund for a simple tap in. Although you could argue Højlund's offside, but before this split second moment right here, Højlund is probably on. He could pass it back to Bruno. You could see Xerxes kind of making another late run there as well. Options. There are options, and Garnacho again just so many options, and he's always choosing the wrong one. We saw this from Rashford all the time. It's just the decision making is the most important thing in these situations, and Garnacho's decision making just not good. And it's too bad too, because he does offer like that bit of energy, that confidence. He's got to work on his footballing IQ, his reading of the game. He's got to get his head up. He's got to stop getting tunnel vision whenever he receives the ball. Every single time he gets the ball, the end product might look different, but what it looks like is that he's already decided what that end product's going to be before the ball. And every time it might be slightly different, but he can't like critical think and decision make in quick moments and change things. It's just, if the ball comes to me here, I'm going to shoot. Like, there's no deviation from that. And it's just, the only deviation is after it fails. Okay, next time I'm going to try this, and that's it. Like, it's really, really frustrating. And it's a shame too, because most of the chances do fall to Garnacho. It's just that he's got to get his head up. The one time he does, again, we get a goal because he finds Xerxes. He's got to start doing that more frequently. Otherwise, like Danny's saying, I could easily see him being sacrificed this summer to get some PSR wiggle room and strengthen the squad, because it's just not good enough. Like Teresa says, yeah, Garnacho is selfish too. He had other options in the box, and then he has a fit. Seriously, I mean, I don't have a problem with young players doing this. My problem is when you're not showing any sort of learning, any sort of development, any sort of improvement, any sort of willingness to be humble and learn from these decisions. I don't mind young players making bad decisions. It's more about what happens after the fact. Rashford spent 10 years making the same poor decisions in those same situations. He never once looked like improving. Garnacho is going down that same route. It doesn't seem like Garnacho perhaps wants to change. I just hope that he can look at that and look at all the, like, is someone not sitting him down after them and like going through this and be like, what was going on here? Like, why did you choose this? Why not to choose this? Like, and telling him, like, the one time you did this, we scored a goal. Like, I get you want to shoot, and I don't have a problem with it, but you have to get your head up. Sometimes you get your head up and there might not be a pass, and then you can shoot, but you're not going to know unless you get your head up and see what's going on around you. Stop this and start this. Scan before the ball comes to you. Like, it's fine. Like, but he's just got to learn. And he's getting to a point now where, yes, he's young, but he's been playing now for more than like, 2 seasons now at this, like, he's got to do better. He just has to. Danny says, at least Rashford would finish them chances 50% of the time. 50% of the time, it works every time, right? I think Rashford just got tired of all the change. I think he got burned out a little bit. I think he just needed a change of scenery. And it chose the worst possible way to go about it, in my opinion. But it is what it is. Now, I know I usually just do 3, but you guys get a bonus one tonight because this one does bear discussion. Ref was a joke. I'm going to preface this. You guys know I don't tend to make a huge deal about referees. And I definitely don't blame them for results, Arne Slot. But every now and then, you do get a horrible display that warrants criticism. You know, the last time I spoke about the ref, it was in the FA Cup match against Arsenal, because that was a horrendous refereeing performance. But this is one of them. This is another one. And so you get a bonus point from me tonight, because this ref was an absolute joke. He gave Sociedad every single decision. Every single thing was going their way. The handball against Højlund when we got a counterattack earlier in the game, you guys remember, that was complete bullshit too. And then the one time he does maybe get the call right, and the Sociedad player fouled us, he completely messes up the decision by not allowing us to play the advantage when we had the ball in the final third. He stops play immediately. We're in a good position. Like, what is the point of you? And then, lo and behold, another bullshit handball gifts them a pen to make it 1-1. Like, it changed the whole game. And I'm not just whining because it changed the game. It's just bad decisions. It was a soft handball. The one against Højlund was bullcrap. The failed chance to give us to play the advantage when we had it. Little things like that. We were not getting anything. We were definitely the better side, and the ref, I thought, just did not let the game play out as it should. Those decisions, I mean, they're going to go against you now and then. I get it, and we do need to show better resiliency. Like, Bruno got carded for whining at the ref too much. Like, I get it. It's frustrating. He's not going to change his mind after that. I don't get the whining, but I get it. It is what it is. But we have to do better to bounce back from those decisions, because they are going to go against you, and we've seen it time and time again. It's just what's going to happen. So it's not about the ref, like, letting the ref know you can let him know he made a bad decision, but at the same time, you're choosing to let that kind of affect your mood. You can choose to let it bother you for a couple seconds and then move on. Or you can choose to sit there and let it kill you. And we chose to kind of let it kill our morale. We kind of let that penalty just ruin the day, man. Rob says, if you're not going to pass in those situations, you have to make sure you score. Typical of Højlund to be in an offside position. Yeah, I think he was offside by the time it got to that point in the screenshot, but I think that he wasn't offside, because you remember Garnacho's almost at the byline and he's got a lot of time to get there. I think a couple steps ahead of that, Højlund probably was onside. But again, it's all we got is that one screenshot. But it is what it is there. But I thought the ref just was not great on the night. I thought it was just horrible display from him. Football, though, it can be frustrating. And while a draw away in European competition is not a bad result at all. I mean, I predicted the 1-1 in the preview, if you guys remember, because it's not a bad result. But I think it was just frustrating the way it happened. I think that it was frustrating that it came down to a really soft penalty decision, because we were better. We weren't great by any means, where we could be and where we should be, but I thought we were better than we've been recently, and maybe that was just counterattacking. Maybe it was just Sociedad not playing to a full strength squad. I don't know, but I thought on the night we were definitely the better side, and we were a bit unlucky. But it is what it is. We still are unbeaten in Europe, which is a big deal in itself. Obviously, at the end of the year, it doesn't matter if you don't win. Kind of like Patriots going all the way to the Super Bowl unbeaten and then still losing to the Giants. But it is what it is. Spurs lost yesterday, but you can bet no one's talking about it. In fact, I bet I'm the first person in front of a camera to mention it, by the way, because we won't see that discussed anywhere. The Boomerang Bielsa messing up again. Didn't even score. But we'll see what it is. We host Arsenal this weekend, and they have been a little hit or miss recently, not on a super good run, but we're also crap right now, so it could go either way. We did beat them last time out, right, and knock them out of the FA Cup, which I thought was a really good match. Bayindir did really well. Maybe Bayindir can come back. Hopefully we'll see Bayindir fit this weekend. I doubt it, but we will preview that one tomorrow. I know Amorim did his presser today, so I'm going to go read through that and put that together. So be sure to come back tomorrow for that one. Get your final thoughts in. You guys don't forget to like the video on your way out as well. And just let me know who your man of the match is. Let me know if there's any final thoughts you have for the chat. I'll leave the chat open for a hot second while I just go ahead and get a drink of water, because it's tasty. But is there any games on today? You guys know I like to see what's going on today. That's how I plan my day. I got to go to the grocery store. I have another client later on today as well. So nothing really. The youngsters play tomorrow at 7 too. The under-18s, they play Derby County at 7 o'clock. And then the women play tomorrow. They play Sunderland. So we'll be watching that. And anyone who is on Hayden Hackney watch Middlesbrough play Swansea tomorrow at 10. So Rob says, Bayindir, Martinez, Ugarte, and Mainu missing from the lineup that started in the FA Cup. Yeah, we are. Spurs are getting all the love for the injuries, but people forget we've had injuries after injuries after injuries for the last couple of years at this club. And it's a player fitness thing. It's a big problem. I think that maybe it's just a bit of luck, but we need some help. Collier coming back could not have come at a better time because we've missed him. He could I mean, honestly, if Casemiro's been asked to play a lot of football, I could easily see Collier starting tomorrow if we need to. I think he and Bruno could do a job, but we'll see. We'll be back. Not tomorrow, Sunday. We'll be back to preview that one tomorrow. So until then, you guys, again, hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by to get involved in the chat. You guys know I love having these fun chats with you. 1-1 at Sociedad. We come back to Old Trafford next week. Hopefully we can put this tie away, and then it's either Lyon or FCSB. Who won that one yesterday? I didn't even see that. I would guess it was Lyon, though. Yeah, Lyon are up 3-1, so we're probably going to be facing them. They are in a bit of a shit show right now, though. Their coach, I think, is banned for a bit, and they are just struggling. So we'll see what happens there. But until then, enjoy your day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by.